The only people who stay dead in comics are Bucky, Jason Todd, and Uncle Ben. In Avengers Volume 1, Issue 4, readers are given a peek at the death of Bucky Barnes, a character that has not been seen in years. Captain America even alluded that Bucky was no more, a permanent death in a world where nothing is permanent. Cap eventually moved on as best as he could until 2005, where Bucky returned from the dead to become the Winter Soldier, a complete 180 from his kid sidekick years. The dignity behind keeping gone characters gone has been lifted. The universe shattered into pieces, and something darker slipped through. Only a month later, Jason Todd returned. 1988. After years of being the new Robin, Jason was served on a silver platter to the angry fans who had the vote to decide his fate. It was narrow. They voted him to die by the hands of the Joker. In 2003, the Hush storyline hinted at the return of Jason Todd. Fans didn't know it yet, but they were about to see the start of Jason reinvent himself into one of the most popular anti-heroes of the 21st century. And also one of the most annoying. A bit juvenile, but this is a comic book discussion after all. The birth of the medium was made for juveniles. But the hatred for Jason got me thinking, what if this saying was true? The only people who stay dead in comics are Bucky, Jason Todd, and Uncle Ben. What would that change for Jason? How different would the world of DC Comics be right now if Jason Todd stayed dead? I have a plan to make this as clear and narratively coherent as possible. I will guide you along through the life of Jason Todd after his death, and will try to make the best judgment calls for stories that include in the life of Jason Todd after the Joker kills him. Anything with Jason as Robin will be kept, and anything Red Hood will be erased and covered with a new story. Continuity with other characters and storylines will very much get screwed over, but why worry about something like that now? We'll be covering everything Jason Todd up until 2021. Of course, everything outside of canon will be fanfiction, written by yours truly with visual aids. Let me introduce you to the stage that will house our new stories to replace those icky comic books. Alright. Lights on. Excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me. Big shot YouTuber coming through. Welcome to the new Canon Theater. This cost me a pretty penny, so hopefully this video will be the first one not to be copyrighted. I know this is quiet and lonely, so let me introduce you to our helpers. These stage puppets will act out the new lore, so whenever these guys are on screen, it's a clear indicator we have gone off the original path. In 1988, DC started to publish a new storyline in the current Batman run that would feature a choice after issue 2 of a 4-issue story. The readers could decide if Jason would live or die at the hands of the Joker. We know what the result was, but what happened right after? Batman was not the same after the death of his young ally. Jason was a huge part of Bruce as he tried to get Jason away from the life of crime and give him a new life, only to let his worst enemy take the life of the young boy away from him. A year later, a new Robin was inserted to Batman-affiliated comics named Tim Drake. Tim was given a push to be liked by readers by making him more Grayson, but Batman took his time to actually accept this new kid as his next Robin. But Jason would still be a rough spot for Bruce as the years went by. He would be haunted by the death of Jason, but there was nothing he could do. In 2005, Superboy would break the canon with a simple punch, and Talia would take Jason in to help him after he was reborn. But now none of that would happen. Jason's grave is untouched. It was as though everyone but Bruce had forgotten him. The true return of Jason happened right near the end of 2004 with Under the Red Hood. The storyline starts with Batman fighting no one. Jason is not here anymore. He can only look across the empty rooftops wondering what brought him here. Longing? Nostalgia? Or maybe something was taken from him. But his self-loathing ends abruptly when Alfred tells him members of Black Mask's gang has been brutally murdered by a man in a red mask. Someone calling themselves Red Hood. Batman was quick to take the case. Something about the killer was familiar. The way Red Hood punched. how he evaded attacks, how he got the jump on the gangsters. It reminded him of how he fought, how he taught to fight. Batman would try to enlist Nightwing to help him investigate the killer, but Dick was way too busy in Bloodhaven and healing from a wound. Batman had little amount of allies he could count on after war games. Tension between the family was high. There were questions lingering. Who was going to die after Stephanie? And will it be Batman's fault? He could have done this alone, but for once in his life, he was the one afraid to go out into the night. To stand before him, he needed a sidekick. Huntress might be accepted by Barbara and Dinah, but Batman had a hard time liking her and her ways. Her friends might have helped her pull her silly little killing tendencies back, but Batman was hesitant to ask for her help. But Barbara lost everything she had during the war games. Tim was in grief. Cassandra was gone. The daughter of a mobster would have to do. Later on, after defeating Black Mask, Batman would have to face Red Hood. A fight that leads to Red Hood ripping off Batman's mask. Bruce could have put everything together the second he heard Red Hood's grunts. He knows who's under the mask. Now it's up for Bruce to face his greatest fear: failure. Red Hood takes off his helmet to reveal a former Robin, Dick Grayson. Before Bruce can take Dick in and contemplate the betrayal, Dick is able to slip away back to Bloodhaven. Nightwing Volume 2, issues 118 to 122, had the storyline of Jason Todd dressing up as Nightwing and killing people. But now we know Dick is Red Hood, so there is no Jason ruining Dick's hero name. Dick ruined it himself. He did kill those people. But even though the world was catching on to him, there was one woman who refused to see the hero of Bloodhaven being dragged through the mud. Cheney Fremont is a fashion designer in Bloodhaven, and she has telekinesis. She looked down at the news clippings and decided to make a costume of her own to help her hero out. She even made the costume resemble Nightwing's, but that only gave Dick a way out of this mess. After Cheney discovers Dick was truly responsible for killing those people, she tries to fight him off to report him to the police, but Dick was able to kill her first. He drops her off at the police station with a confession note on her lap. The case was closed. Cheney killed those people. Nightwing was a hero. Hello, this will be very quick, so you do not have to skip. You can just sit right there with your popcorn or whatever you're eating, and it'll just be really quick. Alright, so if you want to support me in any way, first you're watching this video. That's the easiest way, that's the best way. I love this way. But if you want, and you ever thought, hey, maybe I want to support this guy financially, I got a book. Here it is. It's also in the description. See, this was very short. Okay, love you. Bye-bye. Green Arrow has had his fair share of sidekicks by 2007. Mia Dearden was just a new kid on the block and took up the name Speedy, since Roy would be pushing it with a name like that in his mid-20s. This story seemed to be kind of chill. I mean, look here, Batman and Green Arrow having a good time? Maybe we can just skip this one and oh shit. Dick might be going insane. And he's hanging out with Brick? Wouldn't hanging out with a mobster be hypocritical to Red Hood's whole Punisher type thing? Actually, Red Hood hanging out with mobsters seems to be a reoccurring thing. You'll see. Later in the story, Green Arrow and Red Hood are fighting while Batman fights Brick. At some point, Green Arrow starts fighting Red Hood with a sword. This doesn't contribute to the story, but I just think it's kind of neat. I wonder what's happening across town. Batman gasses Brick and then sets him on fire. Who knew a writer named Judd could cook? More importantly, Red Hood has captured Mia. As Batman and Green Arrow search for the young hero, Dick takes it upon himself to teach her a lesson in what it means to be a sidekick. He shows her that the two of them are more alike than she would want. He's here to teach her a lesson, get inside her head and let her know sometimes very bad things have to be done to do a great right. And then he leaves. He didn't come here just to kill. He came here to let another sidekick know she's not alone. Red Hood Lost Days is about the resurrection of Jason Todd. Okay, so now we've run into a brick wall. We can't use Dick because he wouldn't have been Red Hood yet, and the only other person to be called Red Hood was the Joker, and I doubt he would be a good fit. So maybe this is a good time to just stop and say everything past 2010 never happened, and that's it. That's the end. I think I could just play the copyrighted song in pretentious end credits, and oh, what the fuck? Why is there smoke? Oh no. Okay, here's the truth. I'm not the one making the new canon. The machine is. I call it the Canonator! It creates a new canon for us to explore, and I suppose just trying to eradicate a history without something to fill in the hole does so well things on the machine. I have to think of a solution to fix this. I got it. We just call it an Elseworld story. Let's see if that works. Put the Elseworld brand in, and we'll see if the machine accepts it. Okay. Alright, guys. Oh, that was a close one. Now we know. No matter what, the canon must continue. In 2011, Jason Todd was in Arkham Asylum for the Streets Run Red storyline in Batman and Robin issues 23 to 25. The story mostly revolves around Red Hood killing people and some other stuff with mobsters, but let me do some reworking so this can fit together nicely. After the events in Green Arrow, Dick Grayson is inside Arkham Asylum after Batman has finally captured him. Let's say the entire story is about the impact Jason's death had on both of the men. Both spill out their ideals on dealing with villains until a side plot forces Batman to trust Dick enough to let him out. Fighting with Batman again shows Dick what he has been missing ever since being alone in Bloodhaven for years. The relationship Bruce has with his son Damian changes Dick into becoming Nightwing, and deciding Jason wouldn't have wanted anyone to murder criminals for revenge. I know that's not correct, but in this world, Jason was still that naive kid who ran into danger no matter what. He still had his innocence. Hey, so, just take a seat right there, sport. I know you're liking the video and was hoping nothing was going to get too complicated, but something came up. Dick was Batman during this story. I know, Batman was actually missing because of Darkseid and time stuff. I don't know. I didn't read that storyline, but don't worry there, pal. Old Bloyer has the cure. We just say Batman was Bruce, and the Darkseid stuff was fixed way earlier. Also, I actually have to take a rain check on going fishing. Something came up. Red Hood and the Outlaws is a story of Jason Todd creating a team with Roy Harper and Starfire. So, of course, we just say Red Hood was Dick. Makes sense with Roy and Starfire being Teen Titans with Dick, so we can just take Dick and move him. No. The machine is smoking again. Okay. So, Dick can't go back to being Red Hood because of the last storyline leading Dick away from the title. I hate to do this, but we need a new Red Hood. It has to be someone who can fill the role of sidekick gone killer while also not having much to do at the time. Someone we can connect to the history of Red Hood we've made without messing up that character's future. I'm deeply sorry and apologetic to all Mia Dearden fans out there, but she has to be the one to continue the legacy. It does make sense if we factor in that maybe Dick's lesson during Green Arrow was something Mia kept onto, and perhaps something in her snapped. Maybe Oliver made a mistake and Mia was almost killed by a villain just like Jason was. It does allow us to have a connection to Roy, but not Starfire. But let's be honest, Jason doesn't really have a connection with either one of them. The three of them find some company, as these three are not your typical heroes. They have a certain edge to them, and Starfire has no fucking clue who anyone is and then just has sex with Roy. I wish I could change that part of the story. Oh, the machine is smoking again. Listen, I was joking about the sex thing. Okay, okay, actually, that is not what it was freaking out about. Let me just skim through the comics and... Oh shit. Okay, we have a problem. So, a decent amount of the first 14 issues is about Jason being reborn. But since Jason was never reborn, this entire thing is not there. I can fix this? I can fix this? Okay. I can... Sorry in advance if this is kind of fucked up a little bit, but desperate times calls for desperate measures. Mia's backstory involves her father putting her into sex trafficking after he does... something like that is super traumatic to someone of a young age. Now let's just take that and say, after Flashpoint, Mia Dearden was given a bit of a darker future. Instead of letting go of what Red Hood said, she actually took what he said as gospel, and it fractured her mind, and she started thinking she was Jason Todd. Leading the team to eventually find out Jason Todd is in her head because of Talia. Boom, baby! We're back! I mean, of course, this whole story could be a gross mishandling of DID, but who says comics was good for your mental health to begin with? My first thought for this section would have just been putting it to an Elseworlds title here too, but this event is connected to other ongoing stories, so it would impact those comics. To minimize the damage, we're going to have to redo this entire thing. The main plot is about Joker doing some messy things with the Bat family, and of course Jason would be here too, but now he's inside Mia's head. Let's say the entire Bat family are able to get Jason's consciousness out of Mia's head and are able to say goodbye to Jason, and then this gives Batman a much needed goodbye to his dead sidekick. The final goodbye allows the Bat family the needed strength to stop the Joker. So now with Jason out of Mia's head, that does mean Red Hood would be gone, right? Well, Dick still did a good crushing to Mia's moral code. It would take more than just simple lovey-dovey shit to overcome Mia's trauma. The rest of the series could easily delve Mia and her new friends across the world, testing their moral code and their former ideologies as they face villains all over the place. Maybe they go back to the status quo, or maybe they continue being outlaws. I would think they continue being outlaws, not only because that makes the story more interesting, but at this point, the sales for the series would be too good for DC to stop. So, in real life, this series is about Red Hood and Arsenal being buddies, doing outlaw stuff. Just boys being boys. But maybe Mia being Red Hood works better? Mia and Roy have a certain connection being former sidekicks to the same guy, and this could be a sibling thing Jason and Dick have, but for these guys. And one of them being a woman while the other is a guy could lead to some fun brother and sister dynamics, or they have romantic tension, I don't know, and I would rather not think of that. Also, with Mia being here, she would have a fashion sense of not using that mask. I would assume Mia has self-respect. Okay, I'm just gonna go out on a limb that Mia and Roy are not a part of this event since neither of them would really be here for a Gotham thing. Please don't explode. Oh? Huh? Okay. That was simple. Wow! Look at this! More simple stuff! So let's just say Mia and Roy are back for more and they just have some silly adventures. I feel like my anxiety has finally leveled. Mia is working out as Red Hood. That's really all I give a shit about. Mia is given a nice little ending. Maybe she goes back to join Green Arrow and becomes Speedy again. Of course, using that name as a grown-ass woman is a little weird, but whatever flows her boat. The only thing I don't need is for DC to reset the entire universe again. Oh. Hello there, Dr. Manhattan. Please don't. Mia is gone. It just doesn't work anymore. Listen, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know how to fix it. Mia is gone. It just doesn't work anymore. The Doctor didn't like her as Red Hood. But the canon must continue. We have to continue. So whether any of us like it or not, Red Hood is back. But he is still not Jason Todd. The story kind of goes as normal. We have the whole thing with Artemis looking for the Bow of Ra, and Bizarro is here, and the whole Black Mask fiasco. In fact, a lot of the story with the series is kind of intact. But something isn't right with Red Hood. He claims he's Jason Todd, but parts of his memory are missing. Of course, that is common in Rebirth, but this is a bit weirder. Jason remembers memories that are not his own. Memories he wouldn't have during his return. At issue 26, we learn who Red Hood really is. He's not Jason. Not really. Of course, the whole spirit thing is back, and that allows the host to experience the memories, but that is not Jason's body. It's Thomas Elliot, otherwise known as the Hush. After the big reveal, most of the series is about the aftermath. Jason is fighting against Thomas to take control of the body. Not only because Thomas is a piece of shit and Jason kills people like him for breakfast, but because Thomas would kill Jason's friends if he allows Hush to take back his body. I know this is fucking crazy, but this can easily be answered with magic or plastic surgery. Or just Talia. Anything can be explained if the writer just throws Talia into the mix and then shrugs. Also, yeah, I know this kind of breaks the rule, but Jason Todd is still kind of dead. Would you describe Deadman as alive? No. So Jason's spirit may be roaming around and taking bodies left and right, but he's still not alive. And also, I can't use Mia again because at this point, people associate her with Team Arrow. So she can't be Red Hood and also allowed to be 100 feet near Green Arrow or Black Canary without having to hear one of them give her a very tense talking to. Black Canary would be a very evil therapist if she decided to one day stop being a hero. Nothing really interesting happens here. Jason is still in Thomas's body, and then the run ends. And yes, I do realize that having Jason around, still as a ghost, kind of ruins the whole Bat family being able to move past him, but maybe Jason likes being a ghost inside another man's body. Jason Todd likes being inside another man. So this is really just a series of comics with Batman and friends. We could easily say they switch a few Red Hood stories for Jason as Robin. Maybe Jason still inside Thomas's body is still here. I mean, this isn't too much to worry about, and the best thing is that we are almost done. Task Force Z is a group of formerly dead villains risen back to have another chance at life. No. Jason Todd is here because of his connection to the story of once being dead. We can't use Thomas because he doesn't associate himself with death. That's not a part of his story. I don't... Roy? Donna, no, Starfire, So maybe this is where the challenge ends. DC finally decided to give in and revive Jason fully. His body escapes the graveyard and has another chance at life. No more fake outs. No more spirit shit. Just plain old Jason Todd back, and better than ever. And you know what? Fuck it. This challenge was always going to be difficult anyways. I know when I can't keep going, and DC would have realized that too. Teasing the return of Jason Todd only for it to be a psych reveal for years was only going to be tiresome at some point. So yes, I forfeit. I lost, but I don't feel that way. This was very fun. Thinking of ways to use Red Hood without Jason was very cool. And it would be good to perhaps calm the machine down. I have been inhaling fumes for a few hours now. Also, please don't ask me to do Bucky next. At least Uncle Ben stays dead. He knows his place.
Let's get into some of your work and your amazing contributions to the DC Universe. Let's talk Jason Todd. You brought him back in the Under the Hood storyline. What inspired you to go there?
I think the inspiration was I thought they were already doing it. Towards the end of the run there, Hush reveals himself to be Jason Todd. And I was just knocked right on my butt. I thought this was amazing. And then next issue, it turns out to be Clayface, and they took it all back. Like, oh, this is not Jason. It says Clayface. Okay, that's cool too.
It's a great twist.
But I kind of like the Jason Todd thing. So when it got to be my turn, not too long after that, I said, you know what I really want to do is I'd like to bring back Jason Todd for reals.
Yeah, were there any hoops or hurdles to get over?
Yes and no. Bob Schreck has carried me through my career in comics from the very beginning. And then when he went over to DC Comics, he hired me to do Green Lantern for the first time. He is my guy. He's the guy who believed in me. And I tell you that to tell you this. He did not like the idea of Jason Todd coming back very much. He really didn't. He was not sold. But more so than that, he didn't like it, but he actually believed in me and said, look, if you want to do this and if you feel strongly about it, we can do it. I said, but you don't like it? He goes, no.